Hey guys, it's me again. I can't sleep. I've been sitting up here just having random thoughts on my overnight. We got in so early this morning that I took a nap and now I can't go back to sleep and I have a 4 a.m. showtime. So I went and got me a little dinner, took my shower. I know my face may be shiny, but because I have my night moisturizer and oil on. But anyway, something up here, I don't know where these thoughts came from, random thoughts. And the thoughts are about things that I had no clue that, um, about until I started working for an airline. For instance, um, I didn't even know about my airline until I got ready to apply, right? I didn't know the name of it. I didn't know that we flew for four major carriers. I was just applying, for airlines, and I had got turned down by every main line you can think of that, and some regionals that I was just applying. So I didn't know until I went to the interview about the other airlines that we flew for, contracted with. I just assumed the plane would say, the airline you worked for, and that would be it, and we would wear their uniforms and stuff like that. And so after I went to the interview, I started thinking, well, we're going to have four separate uniforms. I'm going to have to pack four separate uniforms to fly four different planes. And what if I'm in one uniform and then can they pull me off and put me on another plane and I don't have that uniform? So I didn't know how that worked. I didn't know that, like, when you went on your overnights, that if you say you had back-to-back overnights at the same place, same hotel, that you still had to pack all your things and leave, because even though your schedule said you were coming back to that hotel, um, anything could happen, and so you didn't keep the same room. You still have to pack your things because you just never know. So I used to think before I start flying that, okay, you just stay in the same hotel, and you come back to that hotel. I didn't know that on Iran, which is the remain overnight, that the plane that you get off of is not necessarily a plane you're going to get back on the next day. I remember once when I first started flying, I left my sweater or something in the plane because we were the last flight to land, and we were getting up early in the morning going back out. So I assumed we were going to be taking the same plane, and I left my sweater there. Well, I learned the hard way that that is not always the case, because that plane could be going somewhere else earlier, or it could go to maintenance or anything. So I didn't know that. I didn't know that I used to think, okay, say I'm Houston based, right? I used to think that the only flight attendants that I would see in between planes and swapping planes would be Houston flight attendants, and that I would be, say, flying from like wherever Houston to, say, Atlanta and then back to Houston. And that was it. I didn't know that I could be flying from Houston to Atlanta to Denver to Washington or whatever, and that you see different flight attendants from different crews and different bases. So, like, for instance, today when we arrived here in Tulsa, I looked up the crew who was taking over my plane, and they were Chicago-based flight attendants, and they were getting our plane, which came from Houston to Tulsa, and they were going Tulsa to Chicago. So these are just little random things that I had no clue about, and it goes to show you the perception that we have of what it is to be a flight attendant. It's so many little things that I had no idea about how it worked and how the scheduling worked. And um oh in training, because most people call us what is it, pretzel pushers or peanut pushers or glorified waitresses, right? We don't I had no idea the extent of training that we go through and that we ourselves push ourselves through, and the things that we go through. I remember sitting in training class, and it was one day we were talking about terrorism and bomb threats and what have you, and everybody in the class was just silent. Nobody wanted to say nothing, and our faces was like, what? You want me to do what? I have to do what? Wait a minute, so you mean to tell me there's a bomb on the plane and I gotta do what with it? And I was like, question. It was hilarious. So I had no idea of a lot of things. And I was just laughing at myself while I was washing my face, thinking about all these things that I had no idea about, that I had no clue whatsoever that we go through, and the things that we have to do, and the things that the company has to do, and keep up with all these different people. It was just amazing. And I can imagine if me working for a little regional, airline, what all the main lines have to go through. And I'm curious to know the differences that they have to do as far as like their crew, and get into their hotels and the shuttles and stuff like that. That's interesting. It's interesting, but it was just funny to me. And I'm just up and I can't sleep, and I'm rambling. But I was just thinking about all the things, the little things that I had no idea, and no idea about what it took, to be a flight attendant, and the little things that we don't see as just regular passengers. So anyway, guys, those are some of my thoughts, some of the things that I went through when I was first started flying, all the little things. Because someone asked me, I think in one of the messages about the uniforms, or can we switch? And typically it doesn't happen, but it can. And once in the 2 years I've been flying, it happened to me. I was working with a crew. I was working American, and we wear a different shirt for American, but with the same uniform, just a different shirt, and the accessories for American. And me and my crew landed on our overnight. And when I was walking off the jet bridge, the gate agent was calling my name. And I'm like, that's me. She's like, I need you to come with me. I'm like, come with you where? She said, you have to work another flight because a flight attendant just called out. And I'm like, what? And the rest of the crew were going to the hotel. So she's walking me to the new gate. And I pull up, and it's a Delta. And I'm like, oh, this is a Delta? And so I was coming off like a CRJ 900 or ERJ, I can't remember, going to a Delta 200. And I had never worked a Delta 200. And I had on my American accessories, but I had on my white shirt for American. And you can wear Delta, you can wear a white shirt for Delta. So I just took off my American scarf and worked that Delta flight to Atlanta, and then the company flew me back to, I think it was Indiana, and I picked up my trip the next morning with my crew, my original crew. So it can happen, you just never know. Like, for instance, tonight I'm working United, And tomorrow when I get back to Houston, they have me sitting ready till noon, and I could be sent on a Delta aircraft. Hell, if they want to, they can deadhead me to San Francisco or Palm Springs or whatever, and then I end up working Alaska, and I ain't never worked Alaska flight ever. I wouldn't know where to begin, honey. I ain't gonna even lie. I have to break out that manual and start reading because I never worked American, and they do their service completely different. So it can happen. You just never know, and especially right now with all this stuff going on, company wide, system wide, worldwide. You just never know where you might end up being and where you might end up working. But the uniform that I wore today's trip is our universal uniform that can be worn on every carrier. So while I'm sitting ready tomorrow, if they call me to work Delta, I can just go get on the plane. I'm already dressed for it. So anyway, those are little random thoughts that I was thinking, little tidbits of things I had no clue about whatsoever, just blind walking into being a flight attendant, and I had no idea. I had so much respect when I was going through training. I have several friends that are flight attendants. I end up calling them going, girl, I'm sorry. I apologize, but I didn't know that y'all did all this. And I have much respect for you and what you do and what you've been doing for all these years. The type of mess sometimes that we have to deal with passengers and stuff like that. You have to have some thick skin, or somebody could make you cry for sure. But anyway, you guys, guess I'll try to close my eyes and get me some sleep, play some games on my phone. We did have some company updates. I might just read those company updates. They're sure to put me to sleep. But anyway, once again, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Congratulations again. And hopefully the situation, COVID-19, will blow over and everybody can get back to going about their normal, regular lives. Until then, take care and good night.